It is Friday, October 11th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today. It is presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. That is Justin Penik. I am Chris Rose. You're probably wondering, where's Bobby Skinner? He cannot join us right now. As many of you know, of course, Bobby lives in the state of Florida, and so he has got much more important things on his mind and going on around him than hanging out with the two of us. The good news is that we both made contact with him. He's hanging in there. He's doing okay. It's just obviously what is happening to that state is just it's disastrous.
So Bobby Skinner beat that damn hurricane.
Yeah.
He beat it.
He did. He did. So hopefully he will be back with us on Monday when we are breaking down everything week 6. We will preview all of the games from Sunday and Monday coming up in just a bit. But let's talk a little bit about the Thursday nighter, which was not as explosive as the previous Thursday nighter, an NFC South battle between the Bucs and the Falcons. This one goes to the San Francisco 49ers, 36-24. They get a divisional road win over the Seattle Seahawks, and thus they are now in first place at 3-3. Offensively, Brock Purdy looked solid, maybe even better than that. They had nearly 500 yards of total offense. They led 16-0 at one point in this game. Seattle did close it to within one score. But overall, your impressions, I guess, of that. Let's start with the Niners offense and Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I think Brock Purdy did tonight what he's been doing all year long. Now, it was really helpful that, of course, you have that explosive San Francisco 49er rushing offense, too. And whether it's Jordan Mason or whether it's your guy, Isaac Orendo, towards the end of the game, kind of sealing it for them, it doesn't matter. But what I thought the broadcasts, and there are certain guys, Robert Mays was on NFL Network today. Robert Mays over from The Athletic, and I saw a clip that he was talking with Carr, and obviously they're missing McCaffrey, but where they're missing McCaffrey almost the most, broadcast did a good job of pointing this out, NFL Network did a good job of pointing this out, is in the passing game, where Brock Purdy's average depth of target, he's throwing the ball way more downfield this year than he kind of ever has, and the kind of easy button, easy answer kind of options that the 49ers have had, that's one of the main differences in their offense this year compared to last year, where with Christian McCaffrey and his ability to, catch that ball out of the backfield, that is an easy option, especially down in the red zone. And then, Chris, what did they not do against the Arizona Cardinals last week? They settled for field goals, and they didn't get touchdowns. So you are still seeing some of the offensive inefficiencies at one point for the 49ers. Like, it was a one-score game at one point for them. So I'm sure some 49er fans were feeling like it could fall apart, but it didn't. And I think Brock Purdy has been pretty damn good this year. He's like one of two quarterbacks. Maybe Flacco's up there, but I know Anthony Richardson's up there. One of two quarterbacks with an intended air yards of over 10 yards this year. It's not sexy in the NFL to throw it down the field almost every play. It's not sexy anymore. It's sexy to dink and dunk and sustain drives. And Purdy, I think the play that best exemplifies what his season has been about is the 76-yarder touchdown that went to Deebo Samuel. How close was Julian Love to picking that ball off or making a play on the football? He dove, but Purdy makes that throw, throws it across the field. It's an explosive play, and Purdy's been kind of doing that stuff all year. It hasn't always looked pretty. It hasn't always looked sexy, but because of McCaffrey's absence, more has been put on Brock Purdy's plate, and I think he's responded quite well, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, some people use that as exhibit A as to why he's not a $50 million quarterback. And says Deebo makes that play and turns into, well, you know what? That happens all the time in the NFL. He's played exceptionally well. And I think actually over the first now 6 weeks of the season, he's shown that he's a significantly better athlete than a lot of us thought he was. He keeps a lot of plays alive. He uses his legs. He'll get 6 and 7 yards when he needs it. He'll move the chains. He's very, very good. I think, I don't think the Niners are happy with where they are after 6 games, but I think they're like, my God, if we just somehow win this division, even if we're like the 3 or 4 seed, nobody's going to want to play us in January because of our pedigree, because of the fact that we have won on the road in critical games in any sort of weather. And I think they're right. As long as they get Christian McCaffrey back at some point, the back half of the year, look out for this team is what I would say. I do want to flip it to the other side. Seattle started the year 3-0, and we were like, oh, they're kind of fun. Now, they hadn't played a lot of good teams or particularly good offenses, and maybe even if you want to drill it down further, good quarterbacks. Now the last 3 weeks have not gone their way. They've got a rookie coach. Their quarterback, I thought Gino was not good on Thursday night. I think both sides of the football are really struggling right now, and I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, it's surprising, especially, I mean, both sides is equally surprising to me, considering especially the defensive coaching, but I think now that there's been a few weeks of film on Ryan Grubb's offense in the NFL, not just talking about in college, and I heard the Prime Vision broadcast kind of mention the college offense of Seattle, because that's where Grubb comes from, and then the NFL offense, kind of the more old school offense, 21 personnel of Shanahan. And you know what? That's what it's felt like the last couple weeks for Seattle. It's felt like almost a college offense, and you see DK Metcalf on the sideline getting frustrated. And this is something that, Chris, I can't understand for the life of me, and this is even with two different play callers and two different coordinators. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf, on paper, is that not a top 3 wide receiver trio in the NFL? On paper?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I still think that Lockett is like at this point of his career, a serviceable player. Really good, serviceable player. He's not going to wow you with anything deep these days. DK Metcalf can change a game in a second. And Jackson Smith-Njigba out of the slot, I really like him a lot.
I just can't believe the last 2 years. I mean, they were more efficient last year running out of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field instead of 11 with all 3 of those guys on the field. And even tonight, I think you have to look at the first half summary, because the second half, the game, the way that the game script is going, Geno Smith is throwing the ball, had like 32 pass attempts in the second half. So Geno Smith went 9 for 18, 109 yards and an interception that opening drive. Nick Bosa basically forced that interception with pressure coming from that right side of the offensive line, but still not a great throw by Geno. DK Metcalf is 1 reception on 6 targets for 30 yards. Tyler Lockett has 0 receptions on 2 targets. And JSN is the leading beneficiary of 3 catches, 5 targets, 47 yards. I can't believe, Chris, that these 3 guys, when they're all on the field together, I can't believe that we're looking at year 2 of the 3 of these guys together, and they haven't been able to all click at the same time. It feels like DK Metcalf's having a beast game. I mean, there was a drive tonight, Chris. First down, second down, third down. We're throwing the ball to DK Metcalf 3 times, and it's resulting in 3 incompletions. Oh, yeah, and they also just can't run the ball, too, with Kenneth Walker. 9 attempts for 20 yards, 2.2 yards per carry, and a long of 8 yards all in the first half. So the Seahawks also just can't run the ball. They're totally dependent on converting on third down. They are not a good early down team, and that is not a sign of a healthy offense when you are facing a lot of third downs and you're banking on your offensive efficiency all coming on third down. Not a sign of a healthy offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first test of the Mike McDonald era up there, and it's not going to get much easier. They have to fly across the country and take on an Atlanta Falcon team, which, of course, last week put up more than 500 yards through the air. And to me, I think the most surprising thing about this team is that the defense looks so porous. I mean, to give up almost 500 yards of total offense in a short week, that's a tough one. That is a real tough one. So I think that'll do it for a little Thursday night football. The Niners, once again, a winner. They take over first place at a whopping 3-3. So here on Football Today, we're kind of like the Oscars around here. Both Penik and I are going to have a wardrobe change. Penik is going to have a venue change as well. That is all coming up right after this word from my buddy.
All right, thank you, Chris Rose. That was an awesome Thursday night game, full of action, I'm sure. This is Justin from the past, and we have to talk to you about Captain Morgan and the Captain Morgan Playmakers Fantasy Football League. I didn't talk to you about him last week because we were promoting that watch party. We had a ton of fun out in downtown Social NYC. Our Giants won during the 4 o'clock window, but even watching the 1 o'clock games were a lot of fun too. So thank you to Captain Morgan for that. But Captain Morgan Playmakers Fantasy Football League, Chris, I think my team's full of stars, but James Cook now has like this turf toe injury, which that's just a pain for running backs. Malik Neighbors may never come off the concussion protocol. Chris Olave now has what's his face? We're going to talk about
Spencer
him.
Rattler.
Thank you. Spencer Rattler throwing him the football, even though Derek Carr wasn't throwing him the ball much anyway. And I have Calvin Ridley and Terry McLaurin, and I have Tyreek Hill on bye, and Tyreek Hill is kind of fantasy irrelevant until Tua comes back, if Tua comes back. So I still think my team is going to be fine. I love my team. David Montgomery is also here. Josh Allen's my quarterback. Like I still think I'm fine, but I am sitting at a nice and solid 2-3 record. I think after going 2-0, and I am playing Shelfie this week, who is 3-2. So am I going to be all right in this Captain Morgan Playmakers League? What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because you and I overlap a couple of players. Malik Neighbors, I mean, it sounds like that is not going to happen this week. Chris Olave, I think that could be interesting, to be honest with you, with Spencer Rattler. Sometimes those veteran receivers, and he is one of the more veteran receivers there now, even though I think he's only in his third year.
Yeah.
But in terms of guys who have had some production at this level, they tend to get at those young quarterbacks a little bit. So you might see him it wouldn't surprise me if he gets 10 targets. I'm not going to say he's going to catch 7 passes, but he might get 10 to 12 targets. The rest of it is, hey, listen, this is the diciness that it goes through when you get buys and you get injuries, and just hang with them.
I'm hanging with them. I think I have stars on this team. I feel like I'm gonna ride or die with that Bills offense with James Cook and Josh Allen. And whenever Tyreek Hill gets Tua back, we go and we ride. And this is all possible. Hey, Joe's McFly had a 200-point outing last week. That kind of came out of nowhere. And this fantasy football league, it's all brought to you by Captain Morgan, and this episode is brought to you by Captain Morgan, the official spice rum of the NFL season. This is where legends are born on and off the field, and some are last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain from within to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew, grab a captain and a cola. Make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com. For more info, please drink responsibly. Please, Sabrina Carpenter. Captain Morgan, original spice rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. Chris Rose, you'll be glad you did. And now let's talk about the Big 5 matchups of the NFL this weekend.
Okay, let's start with your Buffalo Bills, whom you're very interested in, and your New York Jets. Bills at 3-2, Jets at 2-3. It's the Monday nighter. It gives the Jets an extra prep day, which they may need because they've got a new head coach. Robert Saleh, since the last time we spoke, has been dismissed. Jeff Ulbrich, who is their defensive coordinator, promoted to head coach. He made an announcement on Thursday that Nathaniel Hackett is out as the play caller. Todd Downing, who's the former OC in Tennessee, will now be the one setting up the plays. How much of a difference is all this stuff going to make for a Jets offense that has looked muddled at best?
I don't think Todd Downing is going to make a huge difference. Maybe, Chris. Here's my hope. I mean, Todd Downing was with the Tennessee Titans in 2019, 2020, and then he was the OC in 2021 and 2022. Maybe they bring in more play action. That's what I'm hoping, because this Jets offense is stale. No play action, no motion. It just feels like half of it is Aaron Rodgers throwing these back shoulder throws to Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, and Mike Williams. That it's just so stale, and they can't run the ball. But I will say, I'm feeling. Am I crazy? Am I crazy, Chris? To feel actually somewhat optimistic for the Jets' chances on Monday night, because we always see in the NFL, when teams fire the coach, and I think the Jets are not dumpster fire strong. I think they're a disaster. I think the Jets as a franchise are a disaster, but they just fired their coach, and how many times do we see teams get a little galvanized after they fire their coach? And let's face it, the Broncos and the Vikings defenses are playing great football right now. Are they great defenses in the scheme of things? Maybe, maybe not. But they're playing great football right now, and the Jets just played them in back-to-back weeks. So I don't know, Chris. I actually kind of feel good about the Jets this Monday night. But in the grand scheme of things, does this change much? I don't think so.
So only twice in history since 1960 has an interim coach led his team to the playoffs. But do you know where the New York Jets will be if they top the Buffalo Bills on Monday night?
They're going to be in first place.
They are going to be in first place. So as brutal as the first 5 games have been, and really they've only played one excellent game, and that was on a short week against one of the worst teams in the league, the New England Patriots. They still have it, as Aaron Boone likes to say in the baseball world in New York, it's right in front of us.
It is.
It is right in front of the Jets. I'm not so sure that this is, I think they're going to fight for a playoff spot. I still look at their schedule and I say, man, there's still a lot of wins to be had there. The defense is playing great football. They had Minnesota running in circles over in London. So defensively, they've done outstanding. Offensively, I'm not a Todd Downing guy. He's not the number one guy I would call, but he's probably the best in the building to be calling plays. And most importantly, he is not Nathaniel Hackett. They, however, have got to get back to the ground game. They are the league's worst rushing team at just over 80 yards per game. Breece Hall, who had Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle and somebody else throwing passes last year, still had an awesome year running the football a season ago. The offensive line is better than it was a year ago, and Aaron Rodgers is significantly better than anything they had at quarterback a year ago. Get back to that. Take the pressure off of Rodgers. Maybe you can win the game.
Yeah. For me, because again, the Bills' defense is good, but they are not at the level at which the Broncos and the Vikings are. And it's just unfortunate for the Jets that it was seen like we talked about this Jets schedule in the offseason, like, oh my God, the NFL is just begging the New York Jets to be almost 5-0 after 5 weeks so that they play the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football and it's a meaningful game. So the Bills still have a good defense, but again, it's not at the level that the Broncos and the Vikings are. So the Jets do have an opportunity here offensively to play a little bit better football, but also their defense has an opportunity again against a Bills offense that I don't feel is clicking on all cylinders right now. Josh Allen had one of the worst games of his career statistically against the Houston Texans last week. Two weeks where that offense has not looked in sync. I think they're hopefully going to get Khalil Shakir back, which I think is a huge part of that offense. But James Cook, like we mentioned in our fantasy football segment, struggling with that turf toe injury. Is he going to be cleared? And if he is cleared, how effective is he going to be? This Jets defense should still be good, effective, and kind of keep the bill. And they have, and even in past years, Chris, with Stephon Diggs on the roster, they've done a good job of limiting the Buffalo Bills.
Who's your winner?
I have the Jets, and I feel crazy saying that, but firing your coach, team's going to be energetic, come out firing. It's going to be at MetLife Stadium. I have the Jets, which is kind of dumb, but I think they are a better football team, more talented team than the Buffalo Bills right now.
I'll take the Bills. I think they're coming off of 2 tough losses, an embarrassing one in Baltimore and a tough one down in Houston where they just saw a guy kick a 59-yard field goal. Yep. I think they come back and take care of business. Lions and Cowboys. Lions check in at 3-1 coming off the bye. Dallas Cowboys 3-2, a last-second Sunday night win in the deluge up there in Pittsburgh. Obviously, this is a rematch of one of the most fascinating games of 2023, Week 17 a year ago, where the Lions tried 3 two-point conversions with under 30 seconds to go. They ended up losing by 1 because of the Skinner. Did he check in? Was he eligible? Was he not? Then they got a defensive penalty on Dallas, and then they couldn't convert on the third two-point try. It was a crazy game. The Lions are well rested. The Cowboys are still beat up, particularly on the defensive side of the football, and everything here leans Lions. Can you make a case for the Cowboys?
Yeah, I can, because that Lions defense is not very good. The Lions defense, that passing defense is not operating very strongly right now. And, CeeDee Lamb set the world on fire in this matchup last year. I think he had a big, like 90-yard touchdown. And that's what the Cowboys need to kind of get back to. Like CeeDee Lamb, we knew heading into this year that he wasn't going to get the 181 targets they had last year, because you're not going to do that 2 years in a row and lead the NFL like that, especially when the Cowboys did little to address their running game. They got worse on the offensive line, even though the offensive line isn't terrible, and they did nothing to address, the wide receiver position, really. But this can be a big CeeDee Lamb game. And just every game when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, it's on Dak Prescott and it's on his arm. But if there is one game where maybe the Cowboys can put up enough points somewhere in the 20s, maybe even creeping up towards 30, if there's one defense that maybe they can do that against, it is the Detroit Lions. They like to blitz, even though their numbers are a lot better when they don't blitz. That secondary, it's young and it has some fun pieces, but still, they've been taken advantage of this year, and the Cowboys can maybe do enough. But it's the Cowboys defense on the flip side of it, Chris, that the Lions should just be able to run the damn ball all over them. All over them.
Yeah, and I think they will. CD, by the way, last year, 227 yards in that victory over the Lions, who currently rank 27th in the NFL against the pass. I think the Lions are going to do whatever they want against this Dallas defense. The only reason Pittsburgh didn't was because it was Pittsburgh. This is a team with a better quarterback, a significantly better offensive line, two way better running backs than anything Pittsburgh has to offer, and they don't have wide receivers that will sit there and take plays off. That's what happens in Pittsburgh. It does not happen in Detroit, and it will not happen this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys because I think they'll do whatever they want. I would look for Sam Laporta to have a huge game. He has yet to have any sort of moment this season. 12 catches, no touchdowns. I think both Gibbs and Montgomery, they'll chew up a ton of yardage, and I actually think that Dallas would do a good job of holding it within 10. That's my prediction. I'm taking the Lions.
Yeah, I'll also be taking the Lions here. Wouldn't shock me. Like within 10 is fair. It wouldn't shock me to see the Cowboys kind of play this close, but I just think they're way overpowered here. And you're right. The Lions are a different animal offensively than the Steelers were. Even though we were expecting the Steelers to kind of take that jump up, Cowboys are just too beat up, and the Lions should win this time of possession battle almost by double over with what their strengths of their offense. And maybe they can get after Dak Prescott and force him into some third and longs and get some punts.
I think the most interesting game of the week is happening in the Beltway. Commanders check in at 4-1. The Baltimore Ravens at 3-2. After an 0-2 start, they have won 3 in a row. Washington at 4-1 for the first time since 2008. They last started 5-1 back in 1996. Expect plenty of yards and plenty of points. These are the top 2 scoring offenses in the NFL. And obviously, a lot of people want to say, okay, it's the 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson going against Jaden Daniels, who might be the closest thing we've got in this league to Lamar Jackson. Is that the way you see it?
Jaden Daniels has already proved so much to me, Chris,
mm-hmm.
that even if he has a lackluster game, I'm not sitting there and panicking, but what I am waiting for is the weaknesses of this Commander team, in particular their defense, because their defense is not good. I think they have a good front. I don't think they have a great front. Obviously, their interior is really good, but that's secondary. I'm waiting for the rug to be pulled out underneath this defense. And even if Jaden Daniels has like a good game, a great game, that defense being so weak and the Baltimore Ravens' ability to score points and Lamar's ability to be explosive and Derrick Henry's ability to run, their ability to just kind of do anything that they want offensively at times, that's what I am waiting for. So obviously the main headline of this game is Lamar Jackson versus Jaden Daniels and how similar their skill sets are. But for me, I think this could be a game where finally that Washington defense looks like kind of how it should look, which I think is not very good. But I will say, I will bow down to Dan Quinn, and I will start giving Dan Quinn a little more respect than I definitely have given him if he can limit Lamar Jackson and this offense.
Well, it's going to be hard. That's the key, is limiting. You're not going to shut them down, right? I mean, they're the number 2 scoring offense in the NFL, and they're far and away the number 1 rushing offense. They're averaging over 210 yards per game on the ground, which is 150 more yards than their opponents. It's the largest disparity we have ever seen between a team that is effectively running the ball and stopping the run. It's incredible. And to me, I think that's the biggest key for Washington, because as much as we want to talk about Jaden Daniels, the running game is what has given them tremendous balance and made it so that Daniels doesn't have to throw it 40 times in a game.
Yep.
But because Baltimore's pass defense is so bad, And maybe more importantly, their run defense is so stout. It's going to be interesting. Now, Baltimore has not, let's see, they faced one quarterback who can really, really run the football, right? And that's Josh Allen. I don't think anybody else. They went Mahomes, then they went the Raiders, then they went Dak, who can run, but he's not in the areas of a Josh Allen or a Lamar or a Jaden Daniels or Kyler or anybody else like that. And then they went Burrow. And they had one, and then they had Buffalo. So they faced one guy. But Jaden Daniels has basically been Washington's leading rusher, it feels like. And so it'll be interesting to see if that element is taken away from his game at all. But I do want to say this, that Lamar has done an incredible job and has obviously worked extremely hard to become the complete NFL quarterback. When he first got into the game, late in the 2018 season as a full-time starter, it was basically one read and let's go. That's it. And now he's totally different. But Jaden Daniels, that's not him, man. No. He played 5 years of college football at 2 different stops and had 55 career starts. It's a lot of football to be played. And so he's seeing the field, it looks like, pretty well. I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. And if, like you said, Chris, that Baltimore run defense is good, and that Washington, and give Cliff Kingsbury credit. Bobby Skinner's talked about this a good amount, that no matter how boring sometimes conceptually Cliff Kingsbury is on the through the air, throwing to one side of the field, and the route concepts are simple, a lot of screens. It's like, yeah, that's kind of boring. But the run game is not. Like, he does some fun stuff on the ground, and that offensive line is not very good. And that, again, credit to this coaching staff for kind of coaching around the flaws of this team right now. It's one of the main reasons why they're first place in the NFC East and they're 4-1. But if their run game isn't as efficient as it has been, right? If Jaden Daniels even running the ball, if that's not efficient as it has been, even if they can get like a Kyle Hamilton, a Roquan Smith, somebody to monitor the scrambling, because even Jaden Daniels has been effective running the ball through scrambles, but then also throwing the ball once he starts to scramble as well. He's 7 of 8 for 113 yards on scrambling throws this year when he starts to scramble and he throws it. So if that part of the game is eliminated, what does Jaden Daniels look like? Because we really haven't seen that fully yet so far this year, because I feel like everything has just gone right for Washington, especially the last couple of weeks when they've played the Browns defense and the Bengals defense.
And they had Arizona sandwiched in between those two.
Right, and that defense isn't fantastic either.
No, it's not. I've got the Ravens, though, overall. I just think that they are humming along. They would be my pick after 5 games to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I think they're very complete, and I think they're going to take advantage of a Washington defense that has given up 11 passing touchdowns and has yet to intercept a pass. How about you?
I agree with you. I think Washington, this is the first kind of come down to earth game for them besides week 1. Come down to earth. Baltimore Ravens move to 4-2. Lamar Jackson, if the season ended right now, I would also give Lamar Jackson MVP. His numbers are better than last year. And what team right now, even in their losses, Chris, like even think back to week 1, how Lamar dependent they were to come back in that game, and Isaiah Likely's foot being a centimeter away from tying that game up or making that a football game. They're so Lamar Jackson dependent right now. Give me the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. The Houston Texans check in at 4-1. They're going to take on the New England Patriots. And normally this game would not appear anywhere close to our top 5 most interesting games, but it is this week because it will be the first ever start for the number 3 overall pick out of North Carolina, Drake Maye, who will try and get the 1-4 Patriots more than 1 first down, which is what it seems they get per quarter offensively. How excited are you to see Drake Maye?
I'm scared.
You're scared?
I'm scared for him.
Oh, come on. Why are you scared?
Would you be scared of Will Anderson Jr. and Donnell Hunter running at you with the worst offensive line in football, Chris?
Yes, I mean, I understand all that, but you know what? Let's see it. It's when we went into this year, did you think Washington's offensive line was any good?
No. But
did you think that the Denver Broncos offense would be able to protect Bo Nix? Like, no, but you know what? This kid's got a ton of talent. He's a good athlete. I know that Jacoby Brissett he was actually pressured on half of his dropbacks this year. Half. It means every other time he took a couple of steps back, somebody was getting in his face. But Drake Maye, I am excited to see what he's got.
It's
He's got to play.
It's going to be bad.
So what? He's got to play. I called Kurt Warner about this because I'm doing the Patriots-Jags game in London next week, right? And so I called Kurt to ask him about what it was like when Eli Manning, and I know I've told you a little bit about this, that, that he was brought in to kind of be the connective tissue until Eli was ready. And they made that change when the Giants were actually 5-4 in midseason in 2004, and Eli was not ready. But he didn't go into survival mode. He did grow that season, is what Kurt said. So that's the whole point with the Patriots, is that can Drake Maye take his lumps physically and emotionally? Because if he can't, then this isn't the right time to put him in. But if that's who he is, if he's the kid who's like, hey, F it, I don't care. If I get knocked down, I'm getting back up. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to learn from that mistake, and I'm going to utilize it so that in week 6 of 2025, I will be better because of it. Then that's a win. Do I expect him to come in and have the Patriots put up 30 a game? No. But for God's sakes, this offense cannot look any worse than it has.
But on the flip side of that, hey, I can't sit here and discredit the experience of Kurt Warner. And then also, hey, I love the progression that Eli Manning went on. It led to 2 Super Bowls. But on the flip side of that, we've also seen the whole okay, it's beneficial for Jordan Love to sit. It's beneficial for, even look at Sam Darnold started initially, and then he had a year or two to kind of relax and sit, and then look at the resurgence of him. Look at the resurgence of Geno Smith. So we've seen a couple of these guys sit, and we've talked about this offseason. Well, it's the perfect situation for the Patriots because they may be bad this year, but there's kind of no need for Drake Maye to play. And this is worse, in my opinion, it's worst case scenario. And this is exactly why you have Jacoby Brissett here to go through the lumps so Drake Maye doesn't have to, because I don't view this roster as ready to put Drake Maye, and especially the stretch of teams that they have coming up. I think the Jets are included. The Texans are there. The Titans who are well coached. There are some really tough defenses that the Patriots have coming up that I would not want to throw Drake Maye into it. But
okay, let's break this down into what it is. You mentioned Jordan Love. You didn't even mention Patrick Mahomes, who started one game as a rookie.
Right.
Jordan Love was behind a future Hall of Famer. Patrick Mahomes was behind a guy who was consistently getting the Chiefs to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
What is Drake Maye taking over? One of the worst teams in the NFL, right?
Yeah, and also you have coaches in those two situations too that are offensive coaches, and you can learn from them. Yeah,
exactly. So when is it going to get better in New England? Like, are they magically going to have this incredible draft in 2025 where they turn it around? I suppose it's possible, but there's no guarantee. So
you want to know the reality of when things get better? Is when Gerard Mayo is either out or he hires an offensive coordinator that isn't Alex Van Pelt. That's the sad thing, is that you almost feel like it's going to get better when the Patriots realize that they need to get out of this mindset of we need to wipe the slate clean of Bill and everything that's been going on the last couple of years. It's kind of like the Giants, right? The whole George Young tree and Dave Gettleman. It's the same exact tradition type of conversation. It will get better when they decide to wipe the slate clean and start from fresh. And that is not right now. That is not right now for Drake.
Well, I mean, then that could be 3 years from now.
I know, and that's
by the way,
that sucks.
And we don't know. We don't know. Gerard Mayo might end up being a very good coach. We don't know. Alex Van Pelt had nothing to do, obviously, with Bill Belichick. He's spent the last 4 years as Cleveland's offensive coordinator. However, he did not call the plays. That was Kevin Stefanski's realm. So we'll see how it goes. I am excited for that. As far as the Texans go, I don't think they've been as good as I expected them to be. The good news for them is that they've won 4 of 5 games so far. The bad news is they're going to be without Nico Collins the next month, placed on injured reserve. He's the NFL's leading receiver in terms of receiving yards. But I think they're just fine. You know, they need Joe Mixon back. I don't even know if that's going to happen this week because they're a different team when he was there, obviously in week one.
Quick thing on the Texans, Chris. I won't spend too much time on it, but since Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon have been out, week one, the Texans had a great rushing game and rushing week. Since then, it's been the worst rushing game in the NFL. Like it's been very bad. They're giving Cam Akers the ball, and it just has not looked good. CJ Stroud, the stats don't show it, like the touchdowns don't show it, but CJ Stroud is just playing out of his mind. Bobby Slowick likes to have a balanced offense, so he is going to run the ball regardless of whether or not it works. CJ Stroud is facing, since week 2, the longest average third down distance in the NFL, and he is a pocket passer that is just making people miss inside the pocket and is still throwing the ball downfield to his guys. Now, Nico Collins being out, that will be a challenge that I'm very interested to see in a way how CJ Stroud tackles it. But dude, he has been so good, and I know I'm not breaking any news here, but he's not possibly getting enough credit because his touchdown rate isn't as high as some of these other guys and stuff like that. But he's fighting an uphill battle right now with that offense and facing so many third and longs, and he's just making incredible QB play after incredible QB play. So obviously, shout out CJ Stroud, but I don't need to do that. You know that he's good.
They already have a 2-game lead in the division, even though they have a negative point differential, by the way. They are minus 12. We both have the Texans in this one?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Last one of the Big Five, the Steelers checking in at 3-2. They have dropped consecutive games out in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, who have a new quarterback, and that is Aiden O'Connell getting the call. As of the taping of this show, Russell Wilson has not been named the starter, but he was a full participant in practice this week. Should the Steelers, since he's 100% healthy now, go to Russ?
No. Like, isn't that obvious at this point, Chris? You're a good Pittsburgh. You're a Pittsburgh Steeler team that is not good offensively, but I guess there will be people that will argue with us that they are trending in the right direction. If you feel like you're trending in the right direction, you're tied for first place in the AFC North after 5 weeks. Why would you make such a change? Right? I say no.
Well, I mean, the offense has been okay. Now, I do think that Justin Fields has played pretty well and the best of his career. And I do feel like they need to figure out whether or not they should give him an extension or just wipe the slate clean at the end of the year and go hunting for a new quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So we know Russell Wilson is not going to be the answer in that area, I think, moving forward. So I would say as long as, Justin Fields is doing okay, that's good enough. They've got the George Pickens headache problem, but that's on them. They knew that coming out of the draft. Everybody knew it coming out of the draft. So the fact that he's wearing "I'm always effing open" on his eye black and that he kind of half-ass runs routes and all that sort of stuff, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. Everybody knew it coming out of school when they said, well, he might be the most talented receiver in the draft. Well, there's other parts to the game too.
So wouldn't that make what Fields is doing like that much more impressive? They have Arthur Smith in that offense. They're not good running the ball right now.
No,
they're not good. George Pickens is leading the team in receptions with 23. We know his talent, but we also know that the Steelers don't feel comfortable playing him 100% of the snaps, which is, hey, great, dandy. Pat Freiermuth is second on the team in receptions with 20. So we know that he's a good tight end. And then Najee Harris is third with 12. Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson have 8. Those are your 2 next wide receivers on the team. They don't have 10 catches on the season yet, and we're 5 games through. So I would, again, for the quarterback that Justin Fields was, which was very similar to Russ, might I add, a lot of like, okay, cool, awesome throw, awesome play here, running around and making some nice throws, and even better with his legs than Russ. But also like some what the hell sacks, what the hell throws, what the hell mistakes. You haven't seen that this year, really. You haven't seen all these plays from Justin Fields where he's taking unnecessary sacks and turning over the ball. He's kept the Steelers offense on schedule. and you don't have a singular wide receiver that you fully trust right now to give you full-on effort and full-on production every single week. I guess outside of George Pickens, but again, you're questioning the effort that he's giving. So I
Well,
would say that's even more impressive on Fields' part, no?
yes, but you have to look at the overall picture, which is that they have had one game where their offense clicked, and it really was just one half against Indianapolis.
Right.
The rest of the time, right? They didn't score an offensive touchdown in winning week 1 against Atlanta. And they haven't even gotten into their AFC North schedule. I mean, wait till they have to try and go throw for throw with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Good luck with that. I mean, they've played some teams that, Dallas, they didn't even put up 20 points against a team where their two best players by far on defense weren't even around. I don't know. I think this might be the last straw if they had not already made the quarterback change. And once again, as of the taping of the show, they had not. I think this might be the last crack at it. If that offense doesn't do something decent out in Las Vegas, they might go back to Russ. Just wouldn't shock me.
Which it also wouldn't shock me to see Russ be who Russell Wilson is and take sacks and do the negative play things
I get
that
it.
Justin Fields has not. So
I get it. But if the Steelers are 3-3 after 6 games and the offense just looks like it has, then what's the easiest thing to do? It's not change out the left guard. Change the quarterback. So we'll see.
Because they have that option.
Who's your winner? Because I think this one's a tougher call than the other ones that we've seen here.
I have the Steelers. Right?
Not Nathan O'Connell guy, huh?
No, I mean, especially because the Steelers, they win through their defense. They win through forcing turnovers, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And even if the game is close, I thought that it was the Sunday night game against the Cowboys. I thought that it was going to be your prototypical Steelers game of, there's a good special teams play they made in the fourth quarter. There's a turnover they forced in the fourth quarter. That's just who the Steelers are, even if their offense isn't great. So Aiden O'Connell's a different quarterback than Dak Prescott. So
you know what? Go Raiders, go silver and black.
Yeah,
go Aiden O'Connell. Go Big Ten quarterback. Let's see what we got here. Well, there could be 2 Big Ten quarterbacks playing. Maybe. Actually 3 if Russell Wilson gets in the game.
Yeah.
There you go. And Gardner Minshew probably went to a school that's going to end up in the Big Ten. If it's not already, it'll be there. Just be patient. All right, you know what we all need a little bit more of?
Tell me.
Get off our ass. With bold flavors and a refreshing citrus kick, Mountain Dew will get you off your ass and have you feeling like you're on an actual mountain. A mountain where the weather is always perfect, your friends are ready to hang, and a day of epic proportions awaits. I'm talking about turning up the creative juices inside of your body. So go do something fun and competitive outside. I don't know, closest to the pin on the golf course. If you want to have a farthest throw contest, whether it's baseball or football, 3-point shooting contest, you want to throw the Frisbee, you want to set up your monitor, put on your headset and go gaming with your buddies and go kick their butt, go do it. Frisbee golf, wiffle ball, pickleball, any sort of ball it is, go create some sort of ball because the mountain is calling and you should answer. So grab your friends, grab an ice-cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold. And I got 3 words for you, folks. Do the do.
Do it. I'll be glad you did.
We continue on. Bucs and Saints. Bucs checking in at 3-2 after that really tough Thursday night loss to the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints, it's going the wrong direction after a 2-0 start. They have dropped 3 in a row, and Derek Carr is going to be out several weeks because of an oblique injury. That means that Spencer Rattler, the rookie, is getting the call. He started 42 games at stops in Oklahoma and South Carolina. Decent thrower of the football, not an overly great runner, but should be interesting. Some people thought, like when he was drafted late in the NFL draft, that they might have gotten a sleeper in New Orleans, and we shall see. What do you expect to see out of him game 1 against the Buccaneers?
I'm excited.
You're excited for this one, but not for Drake Maye.
Because it's a better situation. Now, the offensive line of the Saints isn't as great, but this Kubiak has done a good job of kind of scheming around it versus whatever they're doing in New England, it's not. I think this is a game where you make things simple on a rookie quarterback, right? There's a number one wide receiver in Chris Olave. Hey, we talked about him in the fantasy segment. There's a number one wide receiver in Chris Olave, and I'm taking your talking point that you had. Young quarterback, number one wide receiver. Hey, you want to know odds are? Want to know who's going to be open for you? Spencer Rattler? This really good route runner in Chris Olave, one of the best young route runners in the NFL, who goes a little underrated and unspoken about because he's playing in New Orleans. And if he were playing in with the Jets like Garrett Wilson is, people will talk about him a lot more. So yeah, the fact that Alvin Kamara is leading the team in receiving catches with 23 versus Chris Olave sitting right there with 22, and Rashid Shaheed's a big play weapon too. If Rattler wants to air it out, averaging 18 yards per reception, I'm all for that. But get the ball. Get the ball. Hey, you can get the ball to Kamara in the screen game, and Kamara's a really good receiver coming out of the backfield. You even saw him run a nice little out route on Monday Night Football too on a third down. And you had the Manning cast questioning why Alvin Kamara's not double teamed on a third down. And you also have Chris Olave too, who is a weapon. So make things easy, even if you don't win the game. Make things easy on your young quarterback. Get the talented people the ball that can get open for you.
Well, the problem isn't going to be Spencer Rattler in its entirety. The problem is going to be trying to keep up with Tampa's offense.
Yeah.
Baker is the only quarterback this year with multiple games of at least 3 touchdowns and no interceptions this year. He has also accounted for a league best 13 touchdowns. So Bake playing some great ball. The thing I'm looking forward to, and I hope that Marshawn Lattimore is healthy. I think he's okay. Is the Evans against Lattimore battle, because that is one of the best. Sometimes it gets a little nutty, and Mike Evans could reach a milestone. He could get to 100 career touchdown receptions. The only receivers that will have gotten there faster, meaning in fewer games, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, and Marvin Harrison, the one who's got a kid out in Arizona. That's a pretty damn good list. So
you think he's going to throw the ball in the stands?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because he
is
just always
an airhead when it comes to that stuff. He doesn't think about it at all.
No.
He's got to know that he's at 99.
Because he's done it so many times at this point that he has to have people around him telling him, don't do it, unless it's a shtick and he wants to do it. So.
Right. It could be a shtick. Could be a shtick. It's the reason I'm taking the Buccaneers on the road. So that's the way I'm going. I hope Spencer Rattler plays well. I hope that the Saints more frequently wear those black helmets like they did on Monday night.
Yeah, those were sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was I love it that they wore it with the all white. I wish more teams would do that when they wear their alternate helmet. So that's me.
I have the Bucs. The only defense that kind of slowed down the Bucs at all was those pesky Denver Broncos. And the Saints have a good defense too, and I am of the belief, Chris, that sometimes when teams make a quarterback change or there's an injury, that first game for that team is your best friend, because there is no film. There is zero film that the Bucs have to prepare for of what this offense is going to look like with Spencer Rattler and what that coaching staff feels confident that they can call. So this is a tough game to prepare for if you're the Bucs, whose defense hasn't been awesome this year. That secondary has certainly been somewhat questionable, but I am going to go with the Bucs. I love their offense. I love Baker. I love what they're doing this year.
The Denver Broncos, after an 0-2 start, have won 3 in a row, so they check in at 3-2, and they got a home game against the LA Chargers. They're in at 500, 2-2, coming off the bye week. Are we buying the Broncos? Are they really legit? Could they be a wild card contender in the AFC?
Keep winning football games, maybe. This is a huge game for them, man. Obviously, because it's a divisional game. Are they all tied for second place right now? I have the standings right here. Yes, they are. But the Chargers are coming off the bye, so this game is for second place in the AFC West. The Broncos have scored more points than the Chargers. Well, that's again because they played one more game. Justin Doy. Chris, what do you? Am I overrating this Broncos defense too much? Where I think this pass rush is lethal. They have a high blitz rate. They're aggressive. Now they're not going to throw. And the Chargers are not going to throw the ball as much. So it's going to have to come down to your ability to stop the run. Am I overrating this Broncos defense by calling them a great defense this year?
So they're second in the NFL in terms of points per game. The only team that is better than them, that'd be the Chargers. So far, they have played The Seahawks, who have a pretty good offense, and they gave up 26 that game. The Steelers, we've talked about them. The Buccaneers, whom they held to 7. That was the big shocker. In the rain up in New Jersey, they held the Jets to 9 points, and then last week dealt with the Raiders, who just had a quarterback change and held them to 18 points. So I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I will be fascinated to see how they deal with a run-first philosophy this weekend and what the Chargers bring. I think more interesting to me is how the Chargers come out of the bye. Now, they haven't improved their wide receiver core at all in the time off, but I can't imagine that Justin Herbert likes throwing for under 180 yards per game. He might say, okay, I get it. This is how we're going to have to win games, and I appreciate you guys protecting my ankle and the whole bit. But you know what? He is a top 5 quarterback talent in this league. And there's no way in the world he's like, yeah, this is fun handing the ball off to J.K. Dobbins and watching those guys run. And I know that part of it is that who knows if those 2 offensive tackles are going to come back this week or anytime soon. So I understand they're protecting it and they're trying to win football games the way they can, but there's no way in hell he is enjoying that part of it.
No, but you do have to be careful, though, because if those tackles are out or if they're compromised in any way, that Broncos defense will get you. They will get you, and they will, like, even if Herbert drops back 20 times, they will put him on the ground more than 4 or 5 times.
Okay, but you don't think there's a way to max protect, to help guys on the outside, and for Justin Herbert with his arm talent to find guys? Like, there is.
Yeah.
There's max protect, and you can do it.
Pat Surtain has been the man this year. Ladd McConkey's the key. Ladd McConkey and getting him in the slot. Now, you said max protect, which sometimes would involve in like 12 personnel. I would try and get an 11, which is crazy. I don't know if the Chargers really want to fully do that. But if you get an 11 personnel and you put Ladd McConkey in the slot and you get Pat Surtain away from him and Pat Surtain stays on the outside unless he follows, Ladd McConkey's the key because McConkey's been good. He's in the slot 70% of the time, and you got to try and get him the ball. And for me, this is at least my mindset. This is not the mindset of the Los Angeles Chargers and Harbaugh and what they want to do. I like getting an 11 and spreading some things out so you're minimizing the guys in the box, and I'm helping out my quarterback a little bit more. That's my plan of thought process. Odds are they disagree with me, but we'll check back in on Monday to see
who do you have here.
I have the Chargers. I just don't believe in Bo Nix right now in that offense.
Rookie quarterbacks 6-26 against the number 1 ranked defense in terms of points per game allowed. That's since 2000 in week 5 or later. I too am going with the Chargers. Sunday Night Football. Your New York Giants try to get to 500. They're 2-3. They'll play host to Joe Burrow and the 1-4 Cincinnati Bengals. Joe, after last week's crushing loss at home to the Baltimore Ravens, quote, "We are not a championship team right now. However, under the bright lights of New York City, or at least across the river, will he shine out and take a dub?"
These are 2 teams that very much struggle in Sunday Night Football, and I'm going to read a stat for you. I'm going to tell you right now, Daniel Jones's stats in primetime are bad. I can confirm that for you, but here are the stats for the Bengals. Cincinnati is 4-17 in regular season games, in regular season Sunday Night Football games, and has lost 9 of their last 10. So these are 2 teams. You wouldn't think that Joe Burrow and the type of quarterback that he is would struggle so much on primetime, but he kind of does.
Well, hold on. Does he struggle or does the team struggle? Because Joe Burrow this year in 4 losses has completed 72% of his passes, has thrown 10 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Oh, it's been
that ain't on him.
No. He's the league's MVP if they have even a 2, maybe like a 500 record, right?
Yeah.
That's the year that he's putting up. So that offense has been great. Obviously, now that they got T. Higgins back, it's even better. Chase Brown's been good. The Giants will need to score over 30 points if they want to have a chance in this game. Flat out. That's the type of game.
The Bengals.
I'm taking my Giants, Chris.
Okay.
I think the Bengals are reeling. I actually like that they lost against the Ravens. As a Giants fan, I like that they lost against the Ravens last week because they are a team that is like, oh, how are we going to how we're searching for how we're going to win a football game. We need to learn how to win again. I think that's a real thing in the NFL. And I think that defense is just not good. It's not good. And the Giants win 33-30. Boom, score.
In fact, I will pick the Bengals to win, and I think they are one of two teams that will be 2-4 this week that could still make the playoffs in the AFC. Let's get to our second London game. Get up early, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on NFL Network. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming off their first win of the year, taking on the 3-2 Chicago Bears as Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, continues to play exceptionally well. Do you expect that to continue across the pond?
Yes, the Jaguars have the worst pass defense on a dropback per EPA basis this year. So Caleb Williams was able to do well against a bad secondary against the Panthers. And oh, look, it's the Chicago Bears who are the best pass defense in the NFL right now through 5 weeks. So give me the Chicago Bears. I think Caleb's going to put together another nice game.
Yeah, he had over 300 yards passing last week against the Carolina Panthers. He certainly looks better. His stats, when you compare the first 10 quarters of his NFL life to the last 10 quarters, there really is no comparison. He's completing over 70% of his passes in those last 2.5 games. He's playing exceptionally well. But this is a road game for Chicago. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 6-5 all-time in London. Last year, they swept the 2 games that they played there. And I think the Jags are going to make it 2 straight wins. And I think they're going to be the second AFC team that'll be sitting at 2-4. And you could put them in AFC wildcard contention this year. You've got Trevor Lawrence, who's coming off a career-best 371-yard passing in their win over Indianapolis. I think that for Chicago, this is a big opportunity to prove that we can play and win games that we're supposed to, and I don't think they will. And also on top of that, going over to London, if you haven't done it, and a lot of those Bears players have not, it can be a logistical nightmare that can screw up your body clock. The Jags are used to this on a yearly basis. They have the whole thing down. Nothing surprises them as an organization. I think that's something to think about here. I'm taking the Jags.
Yeah, Bears are also 3-0 at home, and they're 0-2 on the road.
You can't get more on the road than London, England.
No, you cannot.
But you're taking the Bears.
I am taking the Bears. Give me 2 back-to-back Caleb Williams good games.
Some quick hitters. The Falcons check in at 3-2. The Panthers at 1-4. Is this the one, though? Is this the trap game, though, for Atlanta? Because at times we've seen Carolina flash.
Oh, yes. I don't know if that was a complete sentence. Yeah, this is a trap game, Chris, because this Panthers offense could be a little sneaky, especially now that Andy Dalton's under center. They got their offensive line, I think, is going to kick ass against this Falcon. Who's gonna threaten? Who's threatened? Grady Jarrett, maybe, but who threatens, especially the Panthers on the ground? I think the Panthers could run the damn ball. I think they could play time of possession. Now, this Panthers defense isn't very good, but this Falcon offense is starting to get very predictable on how they run the ball. There's nothing happening but outside the tackles and these C-gap runs. It is not illegal to call a tackle, call a run play inside the tackles, even just to mix it up every once in a while. I don't understand what the thought process is there. I hate getting predictable. I would hate if my favorite team got predictable as a fan. If I know what's coming, the other team definitely knows what's coming. So, yeah, this is a danger zone for the Atlanta Falcon game, or for Atlanta Falcons 100%.
It is a danger game, but once again, it's the Panthers who have had now 3 Andy Dalton starts. They have gone from 36 points to 24 points to 10 points last week in that blowout loss in the Windy City. I don't think they're going to be able to keep pace with a guy in Kirk Cousins who threw for over 500 yards in their last win. They are coming off the mini bye. I don't think the Falcons blow them out, but I think they end up getting the win in Carolina. The hapless Cleveland Browns.
Oh, whoa.
What?
I think the Panthers win.
I thought you said that they were going to win. But you just wanted to confirm it.
I just wanted to confirm it. I said it's
okay,
I said it may be a trap game, but I didn't really. I guess.
Okay, so you gave it to me. Well, there you go. They're going to get their second win of the year. I like it. You and I disagree on a few of these. The Browns 1-4. The Eagles at 2-2, coming off a bye. Looks like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith will both be good to go, which is awesome for the Philadelphia Eagles. Is this the week that team starts firing on all cylinders?
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna run the ball with Saquon Barkley, who's had a really good year. I wouldn't be surprised even if they try to maybe ease AJ Brown in. Hopefully Devontae Smith is doing all right. Chris, I just don't know your Browns. If there's anybody that sees your Browns on the schedule, I think they take a little bit of a sigh of relief and a little bit of a breath. And I think that's what the Eagles are doing, who are also coming off of a bye. So yeah, give me the Eagles.
It could take the Eagles a little bit to get going, but yeah, if they don't win this game, then there is something terribly wrong. If they lose this game, I might be worried for Nick Sirianni, to be honest with you. The next month for the Philadelphia Eagles, home against the Browns, at the Giants, at the Bengals, home against the Jags. There's some wins sitting there on the schedule. You think that Philadelphia could get healthy, but if they don't, over the next month, look out. Yep. I have the Eagles in this one. Cardinals at 2-3, hit Lambeau Field. Green Bay 3-2. Now, Arizona's given some really good teams in the NFL fits this year, right? Buffalo in week 1. They just beat San Francisco. Detroit did not have an easy time with a victory out in the desert. Does it happen again this Sunday at Green Bay?
Yes, my Arizona Cardinals will come away with the victory against Green Bay Packers. They are 10th in turnover percentage right now. And I think Jordan Love and that offense, they're going to cough up the ball a couple times. So give me the Arizona Cardinals. I believe in that offense.
Arizona will stick with them. I've been impressed with the way the Cardinals have played this year, but they will not get to 3-3. Jordan Love, last week, made the Will Levis play of a lifetime where he was throwing the ball out of his own end zone while he's tripping all over his feet for a pick 6. That will not happen again. He has learned from that. By the way, you were talking about turnover percentage or something like that. I'll do it the old school way. Green Bay has forced the most turnovers in the league this year.
They have. They are number 1.
And so, to me, that might happen to Kyler and crew. I've got Green Bay. And the last one, Colts and Titans. Titans are coming off a bye. Colts are coming off of a last-second loss in Jacksonville. We still don't know about Anthony Richardson. It looks like he's trending in playing. Will that affect the way that you pick this game? Meaning, if Richardson plays, will you go one way? And if Joe Flacco starts, will you go a different way?
No, I think I'm picking Colts no matter what. This is the worst game of the week, right? And that's why we're talking about it last. Oh my gosh, this is not going to be a fun game. Right?
Well, I think the Titans end up winning this one, right? They're coming off of a bye. They got that Monday night win. Will Levis, shoulder. We don't know if he's going to be okay. I will say this. I will take the Titans if Mason Rudolph starts.
Okay.
If Will Levis starts, I will take the Colts. I don't care who's at quarterback for the other team.
I'm riding Colts no matter what.
Okay. So I have an either-or scenario. Is that fair?
Yes. Let the record show that Chris Rose has an either-or stipulation on this game.
Do we have a Football Today stenographer that can read it back on the record?
Yeah. Well, I'm appointing Steve. Sales finance team Steve.
Awesome.
He gets another job at John Boy.
Steve, you're the best. You're the best. There will be a little something extra in your paycheck this week. Probably not. Okay, we certainly hope that Bobby Skinner, God willing, is back with us on Monday's show where we recap everything that has happened in the NFL world here in Week 6. So, even though he wasn't here for Bobby Skinner and for Justin Penik, I am Chris Rose. Thanks again for tuning in to Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL.